Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. Real quick, I want to say a happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there who celebrate it. I'm really thankful for all the support y'all have shown me on this channel, especially as of late. It has been insane to see all of your support, your comments, your feedback, your likes, subscriptions, whatever you do. Even if you just watch one of my videos, I sincerely appreciate it. It means the world to me, and thank you so much for letting me live out my dream. But we've got some really fun basketball to talk about, and in particular, we need to have a conversation about the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic and kind of the situation that they're in. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Easily my most anticipated game of the night was Boston versus Dallas, a game that I thought could be a great one, go down to the wire, a battle of two guys that are looking to become faces of the league in Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum, and I thought it would be one that would be really exciting to watch. Instead, the Mavericks were down by 20 by halftime, and honestly didn't pull it too close throughout the second half, and ended up losing by double digits. To be honest, Boston right now is kind of just head and shoulders above the rest of the league. I think Milwaukee will be up there, and a couple other teams when they get healthier could return to that form, but right now in this exact moment, if they enter the playoffs, I don't know if anybody even gets close to beating the Boston Celtics the way that they're playing. Jason Tatum is probably the MVP frontrunner at the moment. He had a monster performance in this one. He put up 37 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists on 11 of 24 shooting. Jaylen Brown had 31, 4 and 4. They're 14 and 4 now on the season without Robert Williams, just doing incredible things. They are super fun to watch. I thought they were going to have a bit of a regression this year, but that hasn't been the case whatsoever. But I've talked about Jason Tatum and the Celtics in multiple videos, so let's go ahead and move on to the Dallas Mavericks, who I really want to focus on for the rest of this time because they are in a very weird situation right now, and it's not one that hasn't been talked about before, but I just find it so fascinating that I feel the need to make my own video on it. Obviously, Luka has been incredible. He has been one of the best players in the league over the past few seasons. It's hard to believe that he's only 23 years old at the moment because he doesn't look the part. He looks like one of the best players in the league. In my opinion, he's top 5. And in this game, he showed exactly why, dropping a crazy stat line of 42 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists on 17 of 28 shooting in 40 minutes. He was hitting not just most of his shots, but some of the most difficult shots I've ever seen. This was an incredibly tough 40 piece, but Luka just makes it look easy. He makes it look casual, and he really did put the team on his back, as he's been doing for most of his career at this point, which has been a big gripe me and a lot of people have had with this Dallas Mavericks team. They, of course, have a generational superstar in Luka Doncic, and when you have a guy like that, you want him to have the ball. You want him to be taking your big shots, making the plays for basically everybody else, because he is by far your best player. It's not even close. So, of course, you want him to do a lot. The problem is he is not just doing a lot, he has to do almost everything basically every single night. If he doesn't put up a ridiculous performance basically every game, the Mavericks have a good chance of losing to regardless of who they're playing. Luka can have one off night and they could lose by 30 points. He has to carry such a significant load for this team for them to even compete. And to be honest, I know they made the Western Conference Finals last year. I don't think it's sustainable, and I don't think you can win a championship like this. I don't think they're able to reach what their true ceiling could be with Luka the way that they're playing at the moment. To put it in some perspective, right now Luka Doncic has the 7th highest usage rating of any player in a season ever. Let me name you some of the guys that he is currently sitting behind on that all-time leaderboard. At number 1, we have MVP Russell Westbrook. If you watched that season, you will know why. We've got James Harden in 2018-2019. We've got Kobe Bryant in 2005-2006 when he tried to put the Lakers on his back. We also have Giannis actually this season, but that number I think will come pretty far down when Chris Middleton gets back in the lineup and they have someone else to go to consistently. We will talk about that later too. But those are some of the names, some of the highest usage players of all time. You've got Jordan in the 80s when he was the only star on the roster and they didn't have much success. Luka is doing amazing things with what he's been given, but I still think this supporting cast is not nearly enough. Dallas has tried to employ a strategy of giving Luka 3-and-D players, which in theory is a great idea. When you have a player who is so dominant, who can get to basically any of his spots like Luka, you want to give him shooters that he can kick out to when teams double, triple team him as he drives to the basket. It makes perfect sense. And for Luka, who's not a great defender, he's improved on that end. You need some defenders too. So it's a good formula to set up. And so they get him guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, Maxi Kleber. You bring in players that theoretically fit this mold. However, they're very inconsistent. You can have a night where Dorian Finney-Smith will knock down 5 threes and put up 20 points, but on that same night, Reggie Bullock could shoot 0 for 8 from 3. Spencer Dinwiddie could struggle from 3. You could have Maxi Kleber bricking a few. It's just hard to get these guys to all consistently play well on any given night. And with 3-point shooting, you're going to have a ton of variance, which is another issue, because if they go cold from deep, they're not going to win a basketball game. It just really won't ever happen unless Luka's out there dropping 50, 60 points. So while in theory it does make sense, and I do think you should have 3-and-D guys around Luka, you need a bit more than that. You can't just have Luka and shooters and make it happen. You need another star, which has long been what me and many other people have been looking for Luka. And to the Mavericks' credit, they've tried to get him a second star. You had the Porzingis trade where they brought him in, they gave him a max contract and said, bam, he will be the second star next to Luka. Didn't work out. He was injured. He never was quite the player that he was that one All-Star season in New York. So it just didn't end up working out and they moved on. Then they tried to bring in Christian Wood, and he's been pretty good this season, but he also comes off the bench, and Jason Kidd just doesn't like to use him straight up sometimes. In the fourth quarter of a game a few days ago, he played like 1 or 2 minutes and then just got sat and never got back in the game. He even voiced frustration with that afterwards. He doesn't feel like a true second star. And, you know, they've got like Spencer Dinwiddie, who's been really solid this season. He's not like a second star either. They've tried to put some guys around Luka. However, these aren't second star on a championship team caliber guys. When you look at the past few champions, you look at teams like the Golden State Warriors, who have Steph Curry, they've got Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, who was an all-star, Draymond Green, who is a high-level defender. They had a bunch of guys that could hold their own. You look at a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, who won a few years ago. They had LeBron and AD, 2 stars, and they surrounded them with shooters. Imagine if you gave Luka a guy like Anthony Davis. You have the Toronto Raptors, who had Kawhi Leonard as the star, but you also have Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, 3 guys who have all been all-stars over the course of their career as of recently. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks, who have Giannis, but they also have Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday, who can make plays. They also have shooters. There's a formula. Not only do you have to have a generational player most times to win a championship, but they have to have a co-star. I can't think of one time off the top of my head where there was a team that was just completely heliocentric with 1 star and a bunch of role players surrounding him, where basically the star did everything and they won a championship. There are teams without like real generational stars that win by playing great team basketball. You can look at the Spurs, who won a championship like 8 years ago, which is ridiculous. It was that long ago now, because they played great team basketball. The Pistons years ago, the Dallas Mavericks, who won it. This same franchise saw how it worked when they had a really solid team. It's just not working the way they're set up. I don't think they can win like this. Once again, I know they made the Western Conference Finals, but there's a big difference between winning the Western Conference Finals and, you know, going to the NBA Finals and winning the finals themselves. That's a whole nother hurdle they have to get over. If they go on a crazy hot stretch from 3, sure, maybe they could have a performance where they make it out of the Western Conference Finals and somehow win a championship. But the way they are currently set up, I just don't think it can happen. Another problem is that part of this is Luka's fault. And I don't mean like he did something bad. Honestly, he was just too good right away. Luka was so good that they weren't able to ever get him a second star naturally. There are a lot of teams where they will be bad for multiple years. They'll get a great player like a Luka Doncic, and then they'll suck another year, and they boom, get a second star for him, and all of a sudden you've got this dynamic duo. However, in Luka's case, right away, he was really, really good, and by his second season, they were in the playoffs playing against the Clippers. He was hitting game winners. He was just incredible right away, so they never got the chance to draft that second star. They got Dennis Smith Jr. before him, but he was clearly not a fit with Luka, and he never really became a star anyways, although shout out to him, playing great minutes for Charlotte. So basically, they are stuck trying to make this trade for a second star, and who knows when they're going to get the opportunity to truly bring someone in to help out Luka, because ultimately, they just don't have a package to match other teams. Say a superstar becomes available. They don't have the draft capital to match, like, say, an OKC or New Orleans Pelicans' offer. It's just not going to happen. And they also don't have young players. They can't match, like, say the Houston Rockets say, hey, we want your superstar player. We'll offer Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr. I'm not saying they're going to get moved, but just as an example, they have these young pieces. Or the Pistons could say, hey, We have Jaden Ivey, we have Jalen Duren, we have Sadiq Bey. We'll throw in some picks. Boom, we want your superstar player next to Cade Cunningham. Those offers are going to be anything Dallas gives up because Dallas isn't going to give up Luka. That's just not an option. And outside of him, they've got like Josh Green, who's fine, but he's not this highly coveted young asset. So I don't know how they're going to find this second star player to play next to Luka. Maybe it could be Christian Wood, or maybe they could just have like Christian Wood and another solid like borderline all-star guy. Their 3-and-D players play more consistent, and boom, maybe they find their way to a championship. But right now it feels like they're stuck in some kind of purgatory. And to be honest, I don't really have an answer for this segment about how they're going to get out of this. I am kind of curious to hear what y'all have to think. Do you think Luka can lead this team to a championship as currently constructed? I personally just don't think it's going to happen at the moment. I think they need a better secondary guy next to him, someone else that can handle the ball, create shots for themselves and others, and they just don't have that at the moment. For most of the other games, I've already talked about a lot of the teams involved, and a lot of them were also blowouts, so I only have one other game I really want to talk about, and then I kind of want to talk about the NBA standings at the moment. So real quick, let's go over Bucks versus Bulls. This was a close one with Chicago getting a huge win over Milwaukee. They were led by DeMar DeRozan, who has easily been their best player this season. He had 36 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists. You had Kobe White, who hit 2 massive threes down the stretch of this game to secure the win. He was incredible in this one. He's been someone that's kind of gotten forgotten in their rotation. So maybe this is a big momentum swing for him to kind of get some of those minutes back and reclaim maybe some of that potential that I saw in him. I thought he was going to be really, really good. Hasn't happened quite yet, but who knows? Maybe he just needs a new environment. Zach LaVine continues to really struggle. He had just 18 points on 6 of 17 shooting. I think he started 3 of 4 from 3, and he ended up shooting 3 of 11 from downtown. He just hasn't been able to consistently score, and he doesn't have quite his usual burst, his athleticism. I still think he's getting a bit back from, I think it was a knee surgery, or he had some type of procedure on his leg. I think that's probably part of it, but they need Zach LaVine to get back to his usual self to be more successful than they have been so far. I believe they're now sitting 8-10 on the season, which is fine because a lot of the NBA is so packed together since it's early in the year, but they need Zach LaVine to come back if they really want to be a playoff team. For the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis had an incredible 36, 11, and 7. He was unstoppable. Brook Lopez had 20 points. You had a pretty solid performance from Jrue Holiday with 14, 5, and 11. Although he didn't shoot very much, maybe they could have used some more of that. They also really just missed Chris Middleton. Down the stretch, they weren't able to consistently get buckets. And I think a lot of the guys on the team just kind of get gassed. I think they need a guy like Chris who can come in, continue to play great basketball throughout. The third quarter, they ended up going down big by the end of it. If Chris Middleton's there, maybe that's another story. So hopefully he's able to come back soon. But for right now, massive win for Chicago. And finally, I want to go over real quick the Western Conference standings because I think it's insane how much parity there is in the league right now. We could talk about the East too, but let's focus on the West for the moment. If you want to hear me talk about the East, maybe I could do that in the next one of these recaps that I make. But right now, I'm going to look down real quick at the standings. I have them on my laptop and I'll try and flash them on the screen here. The Western Conference, you have the first seeded Phoenix Suns who are 11-6. Then you've got 3 teams at 11-7 with the Pelicans, the Nuggets, and the Clippers. You've got the Utah Jazz at 12-8, the Kings at 10-7, 10-8 Grizzlies, Timberwolves, Trailblazers, Mavericks, who we talked about a lot, are 9-8. The Warriors are 8-10, the Thunder 7-11, Spurs 6-13. They've really started to tank since starting off, I think 4-0, 5-0. They've really fallen off a cliff, getting blown out continuously. Lakers 5-11, Rockets 3-14. Now, if you look at the standings and specifically the games back, it's crazy how close everything is. The Mavericks, who I was just talking kind of doom and gloom about, they're 2 games out of the 1 seed at the moment, which is absurd. Even the Thunder, who a lot of people thought were going to be tanking this season pretty hard, they're only 4.5 games back out of the 1 seed at the moment. The Golden State Warriors are 3.5 games back, and they've looked really bad compared to how they looked last season. It just goes to show how much parity there is in the league at the moment. It's ridiculous, and we got a lot of results that affected this tonight. The Pelicans got a win with Zion dropping 30 points over the Spurs. The Warriors blew out the shorthanded Clippers. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George both dealing with injuries and no real timetables for return, so they continue to get bit by the injury bug. We had the Timberwolves beating the red hot Pacers. The Nuggets beat OKC. We don't have to talk about that one. The Pistons beat the Jazz, so they've kind of started to come back down to earth a little bit. The Cavaliers beat the shorthanded Blazers by a ton. So a lot of results that really affected these standings, and I feel like every time I open them up, 3 teams shift way up or way down, and it's just continuously like shuffling a deck of cards. I just thought it was interesting. Been super fun to watch the league so far this year. A lot of parity. Any team can beat any team on any given night, and it's just been a really great season overall, so I just kind of want to throw that in at the end since I only really had 2 games to talk about. With that being said, I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Go ahead and comment down below what you think think about the Dallas Mavericks and Luka. Do you think that they really are in big trouble like I think, or do you think I'm overreacting? I appreciate y'all watching. Have a great Thanksgiving. Once again, if you do celebrate, really appreciate all of y'all, all the support you have shown me. It's helping me live up my dream. I can't thank y'all enough. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.